Listen up because what I'm about to tell you will completely change how you approach relationships and personal power. There's a psychological phenomenon that most men never understand, and it's costing them their dignity, their peace, and their self-respect every single day. Picture this scenario. You've been giving someone your time, your energy, your attention. Maybe they've been taking it for granted, maybe they've been pulling away, or maybe they've outright disrespected what you bring to the table. Your instinct tells you to chase, to explain, to prove your worth. But what if I told you that the most powerful thing you could do is the exact opposite? Here's what happens when you withdraw your attention completely. When you stop feeding someone's need for validation, when you go silent, something fascinating occurs in their psychology. Attention acts like emotional fuel for many people. It feeds their confidence, their sense of worth, their emotional stability. When you provide constant attention, even after being treated poorly, you're essentially teaching them that your energy has no value. But the moment you pull back completely, everything changes. It's like removing their emotional oxygen supply. Suddenly, they start feeling things they've been avoiding: guilt, loss, fear, emptiness. Most people think withdrawing attention is an act of indifference. It's not. It's an act of reclaiming your power. When you stop reacting, you remove their control over your emotions. You shift the entire dynamic. They're no longer deciding when you communicate, when you connect, or how you feel. That silence hits deeper than any words ever could because they expected you to chase, to prove yourself, to beg for their attention. But when you don't, when you simply disappear into composure, it disrupts their entire sense of control. This strategy works because many people crave attention more than they crave closure. When you engage, when you argue, when you explain yourself, you're still giving them what they want: your emotional energy. Even anger feeds their ego because it proves they still have access to your emotions. But silence? Silence is starvation. Silence creates an emotional vacuum where their mind starts to spiral. They'll replay every conversation, every interaction, every moment that led to your withdrawal. And here's the beautiful part: you don't have to punish them because their own mind does it for you. Initially, they won't feel the impact. They'll act unbothered, post more on social media, laugh louder with friends, maybe even flirt with others to prove your silence means nothing. But these are just defense mechanisms. The more they pretend not to care, the more they're fighting what's really happening inside. Your withdrawal doesn't just affect their pride, it touches their emotions at the core. The longer you stay silent, the more their mask begins to crack. What starts as apparent indifference eventually transforms into confusion, then irritation, and finally emotional collapse. This triggers something powerful in human psychology: uncertainty. People become emotional detectives when they care about someone. They read energy patterns, tone changes, behavioral shifts. They know when someone is obsessed versus when they're detached. When your energy suddenly changes from available to distant, it haunts them because they were used to being the center of your attention. That uncertainty breeds anxiety. And anxiety often becomes the birthplace of desire. You'll know it's working when they start testing you. They'll post things designed to provoke a reaction. They'll drop subtle hints, maybe send casual messages, just to check if they still have access to your emotions. But here's what you need to understand: that's not love.
Déteste ego-panique.
The moment you respond, you reset their comfort level. The moment you stay silent, you deepen their craving for your attention. This approach works because it shifts them from feeling like they're the prize to realizing they're the one chasing validation. That's when the tables turn. That's when they start feeling what you once felt: doubt, confusion, longing, and powerlessness. The irony is people will act like your silence doesn't bother them, but internally it can consume them. Even negative attention maintains emotional connection. When you remove all forms of contact, they're left alone with their thoughts. And those thoughts can be brutal. Every moment of silence becomes a mirror reflecting their own behavior, their mistakes, their arrogance. This withdrawal also forces natural polarity back into the relationship dynamic. When you're still, when you don't chase or react, their energy starts moving toward you. That's how genuine attraction gets restored. Your silence forces them to reflect, and reflection is what many people avoid most. They'll do anything to distract themselves until silence forces them to sit with the truth of what they lost. This creates something unexpected: respect. They might not like your approach, but deep down they respect someone who doesn't collapse for them. Restraint represents power, and people are instinctively drawn to power. Every person can talk, chase, or argue, but very few. That composure separates you from everyone else they've dealt with. Most people fear silence because they think it means losing someone. But silence is the only way to make them truly feel your absence.
You can't convince someone to miss you toward.
They have to experience it. And they only experience it through the void you create. When you withdraw, you stop being predictable. You stop being emotionally available on command. You stop being their backup plan. That unpredictability forces your presence. This doesn't mean being cold or hateful. It means choosing peace over chaos, self-respect over validation. It means realizing your worth isn't measured by how much you can prove your feelings to someone who stopped valuing them. The real transformation happens when your silence creates space for personal growth. While they're obsessing, you're improving. While they're analyzing your withdrawal, you're building inner peace. That growth elevates you from who they knew to someone they can never have again. Remember, the person who learns to withdraw strategically doesn't lose anything. They gain everything. They reclaim their power, protect their energy, and discover that silence isn't weakness, it's wisdom. Because not everyone deserves access to your emotional energy, and not every situation deserves your reaction.